everybody, Raul here for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the extraordinary honor and pleasure of chatting with none other than Rodney O'Quinn. Yay!
Woo! Tell him when he wins, Bob!
There we go. So those of you that have been paying attention, perhaps you've seen Rodney on stage with Foghat, and
Foghat, yes,
in
sir.
years prior, you might have seen him on stage with the Pat Travers Band. And certainly there's lots of interesting stuff to talk about there. But as always, Rodney, we like to go to the past. How did you get started in music and particularly on bass?
It was as simple as my best friend got a guitar for Christmas. He joined these three brothers that already kind of had a little band. And he comes to me and says, hey, you know, we need a bass player. You should get a bass. Hey, Mom, Dad, can I have a bass? I don't really know what it is, but can I have one? Yeah. And that's how it all started, just that simple. And then, of all things, literally my first gig ever was at the elementary school I went to. I was in 6th grade at that time, but they literally brought the whole school into the auditorium for us to perform our very first concert ever. And I remember our parents were all freaked out. It's like, oh, what are we going to do if they don't get on stage?
Yeah.
But we actually got my mom still has it. It's like the local newspaper, Today newspaper, like half a page of the front section of the People. We made the cover of the People section in the paper. So my very first gig, you know, I had press and everything. And then the bug bit me. It's like, hey, there's something to this.
There you go. There you go. So are you self-taught or did you pursue lessons?
Yeah. When we first started that initial group, the keyboard player, he was kind of like the genius of it. He was kind of like a classical prodigy, but he loved Elton John and the Beatles. So he would like kind of school us a little bit and kind of guide us just a tad. Then from there, everything was just myself. I just kind of would teach myself.
Nice.
There was no YouTube back then.
Yeah. There was a lot of scratched records because you were lifting.
I was saying, there was a lot of messed up vinyl, just trying to pick the needle up and drop it, pick it up and drop it. So the crazy thing is, you know, I literally started playing when I was like 10, 11 years old. Some of the bands that I first started getting into, there was ones, of course, I went from like K-Tel Records, Goofy Greats to like Kiss Alive. That was my transition.
Yeah.
You know, there were certain bands when I would try to learn stuff. I would get, obviously Kiss. I can never play Kiss, my Gene Simmons. But there were certain bands when I would play their stuff, I would go, oh, I can vision me playing with these guys. The crazy thing is Foghat Live came out when I was 11, and that was one of my go-to records.
Oh, wow.
And fast forward in life, Craig McGregor basically handpicked me to come in. So I was like, how does that happen? That's like a Mark Wahlberg rock star movie moment. I used to have pictures of these guys on my wall. Now I'm one of them.
There you go. There you go. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. But, you know, certain people, I mean, I thought I could play with and then later in life, I kind of, certain ones I did. I mean, Ted Nugent was another one. Now, I've never played with Ted Nugent, but I did gigs with Derek St. Holmes, which was the first big singer for Ted Nugent. Stranglehold, that's Derek St. Holmes singing. And then when I first got in Foghat, Charlie Hune was still in the band. Well, Charlie Hune was with Ted Nugent after Derek. He was like with Ted Nugent 78 to 82. So I got to play with two of Ted's singers, and I know Ted.
Nice.
We've met. And then I got turned on because I started playing with older guys at a young age. And, you know, I had guys turning me on to Montrose and Grand Funk and stuff like that. So I started dropping back. And here later in life, you know, I did gigs where I played right alongside Mark Farner, and I did gigs where I played with Ronnie Montrose, you know, God bless his soul.
Yeah.
You know, I was on the phone with Ronnie because we did, when I was with Pat, I handled his business too, but we did a tour package initially where we as Pat's band, core band, we played behind Pat, Mark Farner, Ronnie Montrose, and Derek St. Holmes. So it was like we billed it to festivals, you know. So you gave, you know, kind of 4 45-minute sets, minimal backline because you kind of everyone used a lot of the same stuff, and then you just swapped guitar players and singers. So that was a huge success when we did that. And then we were already working on a package where it was going to be Pat and Ronnie, and we as the band was going to be the core band behind them again. And I was on the phone with them, and then like a week and a half later, all of a sudden, the agency I was working with, all of a sudden they called me, and unfortunately, Ronnie was no longer with us no more. So that was pretty devastating.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I had a lot of great conversations with that guy.
Wow.
Very good.
Well, the challenging thing is as the years go by, there's been so many extraordinarily talented people that we've lost well before their time.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And then there's some out there, like right now, Buddy Guys, 85, 86, might be 87. I don't know. He's getting up there, but I mean, that dude's like a firecracker. He makes the Energizer Buddy look like he's sitting still.
There you go. Well, and you go, how is this even possible? I mean, at the two ends of the spectrum. But taking a step back, the Pat Travers Band, how did that gig? Because not only were you bassist, but you were doing a tour managing stuff as well?
I booked, tour managed. I was the accountant. I was the travel agent. I was the merchandise guy. I had streams of revenue.
There you go.
I am a bass player, businessman.
Absolutely.
So, and that was one thing. I had a relationship also prior to, even Craig meeting with me. I had a relationship from a distance with Linda Earl, which Roger Earl, drummer of Foghat. That's his wife now, but she's forever and a day been involved in Foghat business. Mm-hmm. She worked for their management company back in the 70s. She goes all the way back to, I think, 76 is when she started with Foghat. But there was times she would see, like if she was like dealing with a promoter or a venue, and she would look and see, well, who's been there that maybe I can reach out to. And I would do the same. So we would compare notes on different venues, different promoters and stuff. So when I came in, she liked it because I got the business side. Yeah. What she went through, she knew that I understood it all. Mm-hmm. And at times I would when someone would go, we should be getting a lot more money again. Now we're getting paid great. And like, this is how quick it all breaks down to nothing. See? Yeah. So, because, you have a lot of musicians, their simple math is like, well, you should just take the money and divide it by 4. Well, you forgot about the agents. You forgot about the flights. You forgot about the hotels, Yeah. You forgot about the road crew, yeah.
It is a very complicated formula when you boil it down.
And I tell you what, I tell her on a daily basis, I do not envy her. I know. And it just the things you go through on a daily basis now, especially after the pandemic, oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Everything's skyrocketed. I remember when I first started handling the business for Pat, I could fly 4 of us from Florida to California and back for like $1,600. Okay, the last time I booked a trip for Pat, at this point, we just did it 3-piece, and it was $3,000. Oh, wow. And that was in 2016. I couldn't imagine what it is now. Sometimes Linda would go, flights are ridiculous. I'm like, I don't want to hear.
There you go. Well, and that transition, again, you went from Pat Travers Band to Foghat. Foghat, about kind of a little of overlap there. I think, 2015 with Foghat?
Yeah. I actually started, and what it was, with Craig's health issue, it started limiting his ability to travel. There was a couple other bass players that were bouncing around some, playing when he couldn't. But then, I guess, as it started to get a little more serious, or about the same time, a lot of the road crew guys had already seen me, and they're like going, you should be calling Rodney. Yeah. And they would always tell me when they would see me, hey, I keep telling them they should call you. Well, I happened to play in Craig's hometown the weekend that he was off. So him and his wife came out and saw the show. We hung out. And then afterwards we talked. And then he was like, at the end of the night, he's like, well, what time are you leaving tomorrow? I go, well, I'm not leaving town till about 11. He goes, okay, I'm going to pick you up at 8. And I'm going to take you to my house and cook you breakfast. So I'm walking into his house. He's got his gold records on the wall, just platinum and stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah. And we sat in his kitchen, I mean, Craig was a great chef. There was a point in time, even when he wasn't playing Foghat, I think he had a little restaurant, but I know he was a sushi chef, all sorts of stuff, But I mean, he whipped up this incredible breakfast that I'm like, and we sat and talked, for a long time. And then he finally all of a sudden goes, if this was to come available, would you be interested? And I'm like, well, I'd hate to see you leave because you are, all I know of Foghat. And I said, well, throw my name in the hat. And then I really didn't think much more about it. And then about 2 or 3 months later, Linda called. And they were going to be at SeaWorld in Orlando, Florida. And I live down in Florida. And I happened to be off that weekend. So it was like perfect timing. But they were doing 2 days, 2 shows a day. So I come over there and, finally it was like, well, have you sit in on one song this first show? It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. What song do you want to do? I pick one. I don't care. Pick one. So I can't remember what the first one was that we did. But the first show, I just did one song. So then Roger comes to me on the second show. He goes, all right, well, we'll do that one. And what other one you want to do? I said, no, let's do something different. Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, let's do something different. So then, we did 2 other songs. So, and the next day came back and it was the same thing. 2 different songs. 2 different songs, So at that point, I played 7 songs unrehearsed, just walked out, band waved and played and walked off. And at that point, they go, well, Craig had already told Roger, Mini-Me. He's the guy, Mini-Me. And after our morning of having breakfast. And then I met everybody else and we went through all that. And then it was like, okay, yeah, this is working. And that's where we went from there. Yeah. But I remember my buddy that I had met, throughout the years with Pat Travers, he actually was covering for the guitar tech on that particular show. And he even told me on one song, Honey Hush. And he was like he said Craig was standing right beside him. And we finally got to that one point where all of a sudden kicks like, da, 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 da. And as the thing, as soon as we got done, Craig just leans over and goes, he nailed it.
Nice.
It was really great to have Craig's vote of confidence because, growing up, he was one of my go-to listen to guys. So I used to have these guys on my wall. Now I'm one of them.
Indeed. Well, and as you've been with Foghat, we've got a little exciting news for people. New album dropping November 10th, Sonic Mojo.
Yes. I actually, when I first got in the band, they were doing Under the Influence, and I actually played on a few tracks there because Craig hadn't finished. So I played on 2 or 3 there. And then since then, we've done like a live CD, Live at the Belly Up. And then we did 8 Days on the Road. That was a CD DVD.
Okay.
But now this is going to be the first studio one, now with Scott Holt in the band. So it's been really cool. Kim Simmons, late Ken Simmons, prior, he was writing a lot of songs. So Roger's like, Kim, why don't you write us some songs, Because Roger and Kim were still great friends. And so he did. He actually wrote 4. And we got to listen to them. I was like, well, wow, these are all great. You just kind of took the pressure off us.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was kind of a different blend, and it came together in a little unorthodox way because Roger was getting ready to have shoulder surgery. So we wanted to hurry up and get drum tracks first. And so we're not sure what we're going to do yet. So, but we all got it, pulled together, and it was like, wow, when it was all said and done, it's like, man, that's cooking with grits.
Which is appropriate because you're kind of in the realm of blues rock, kind of, I get, especially with the slide, I get kind of southern rock kind of stuff.
No, not southern, it's boogie.
It's boogie, okay. I stand corrected. I think whenever I hear the slide guitar.
Yeah, Brian is a phenomenal slide player.
Yeah.
Which you got to be because, the original guy, Rod Price, oh my God, he was electrifying when he played slide.
Nice.
But Brian's fantastic.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well,
that's almost like a lost art. There's not really many slide players anymore. Derek Trucks is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But you don't really constantly hear of people that's like having a reputation of being a slide player. They're out there, but just nobody that just really stands out.
Well, and I think it ends up in kind of niche with the kind of music that you guys are playing. And as I mentioned, even though this isn't country, but you do hear it still in that genre.
Right. Yeah. And then when we did the CD, we've got a kind of a wide variety of things.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, some boogie rock type stuff. We've got blues, a little bit of slow, a little bit up tempo. We cut Mean Something Woman.
Okay.
But it was like a blues tune, but we actually cut it kind of with a Latin feel. And it's like, wow, that's kind of cool. At first, I'm like listening to it because they'd laid these tracks down and then come back. All right, you put bass on. I listen to it, I'm like, man, I have no idea what I'm going to do here. But all of a sudden, it just happened. And I go, wow, I don't know what I did, but it worked. And everybody's like, oh, yeah.
Nice. Well, one that popped for me was Driving On.
Right, Driving On. Yes. Yeah, that's a good tune. I really like that. Yeah, it's good. And we're playing that live already, and people are liking that. And then She's a Little Bit of Everything. We're playing that one live.
Nice.
And as of our last show, we actually played I Don't Appreciate You.
Okay.
Yeah, which is almost like kind of a punk rock one.
I know. There's some nice variety there. Yeah. I'm sure when people are listening, and one of the things, especially the other bass players, always kind of want to know a little bit, how are you getting your sound? What gear are you playing on?
Literally, I recorded the CD with just a Sans amp and a compressor.
Nice.
Didn't even use an amp. It was just Sans amp DI and a compressor. Live, because the way we travel is all fly dates. So, backline, you're kind of, you go to the standards, I use the Ampeg 810 cabinet, obviously. And then I prefer the Ampeg 4 Pro. I prefer that over like the All-Tube Classic. For some reason, the All-Tube Classic just doesn't work for me, and I just don't know why. I can play, and it just sounds mushy. Hand it to another guy, and it sounds fantastic. I take the guitar back, I play, it just sounds mushy. It just, for some reason, it never really worked for me. I don't know why. It's the great mystery. But the 4 Pro, which is a hybrid, it's a tube preamp but MOSFET power.
Nice.
That works for me. And that's easy, readily available. And then my second go-to amp on the road is the GK1001, because they're readily available. I would prefer to have 15s, like double 15 cabinets. I would prefer that over like the 810s, but the 810s is like everybody's got them, Or even the 610 cabinet by Ampeg. Okay. That's a great sounding cabinet because it's a mixture, because the top 4 speakers are sealed, but the bottom 2 are ported. Whereas in an 810 cabinet, they're all sealed. So it gives you the sound develops and blooms a lot closer to you. An 810 cabinet, by the time it gets off the edge of the stage, then the sound develops.
Nice.
So, but I love the sound of 15s. Probably the best bass rig I ever had. It was I had these. They were PV 215 cabinets, but I loaded them with JBL E140s, and I had a Crown power amp pushing them, a DBX compressor, and I had it was a PV Pro Bass 1000 preamp. Oh my God, it sounded phenomenal. And when I was with Pat, we did a show with Peter Frampton, and John Regan was playing bass with Peter Frampton. And I noticed he had one of those PV preamps. He's like, "Oh, dude, that's been the secret of my sound forever." I'm like, I go, "Yeah, I can't believe they quit making them."
Well, there you go. And what basses are you playing?
Right now, believe it or not, this last year, I was in Dave's Guitar in Milwaukee, and I was doodling around. The guys were guitar geeking out, and I was checking out basses, just scooping off. But I kept going back to, they had a Paul Reed Smith bass in there, SE. It's only like a $700-800 bass. Played great. Reminded me of my Spectre. I got an old Spectre NS. Neck through body, and had a nice chunky neck to it. And it had a very nice mid-range sound to it. And I was like, wow, this damn thing just sounds great. Feels great. Ended up getting, actually, my guitar tech at the time. He knew I liked it, but I wouldn't open up the wallet. But And now we had a super, lifelong friendship that like a week later he shows up at my house with it and he goes, I knew you wasn't going to buy it, so I bought it here.
Nice.
I'm like, oh, dude. But that was his thing, thanks to me, because I mean, throughout the years, I threw a lot of. He was mainly a sound engineer. He had done a lot of stuff. I had pushed a lot of stuff to him, and that was his way of, I appreciate you, bro. And I'm like, oh, dude,
Nice.
shucks.
Nice.
But I've been playing it ever since. It's not an outrageously, like I said, it's only like a $700-800 bass, but it sounds great. I've had a longtime friends of mine that's like guitar geeks see me with it, and they actually go, man, that guitar just fits your body,
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was playing a landing bass. It's kind of like a jazz bass, but it's a custom builder in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Landing guitars. His real claim to fame is he makes short scale basses that have incredible sustain and punch. Most short scales don't. And he actually makes one that looks exactly like a Stratocaster, pickup layout and everything. You look at it, it's like, well, that's a Stratocaster with 4 strings.
Weird.
But he does that. Craig had one of those landings. I go, wow, I really dig that. So I got one. And then before that, with Pat, I was playing a fretted Tony Franklin model Fender. Yeah. Back then, when I got it, Tony was artist relations at Fender. So Pat had called him up, and he's like, we were getting ready to record a Fidelis CD, and the producer insisted that he wanted a passive bass. And of course, I was playing my Spectre, which was active. So we got a hold of Tony, and that was his thing. He goes, I got it off the assembly line. He goes, I put some of my mojo on it, and I sent it to you.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. But I played it for a long time. I've still been threatening to bring it back out because I know she's lonely.
Indeed. Well, you have to revive the magic that is in each of the instruments and give them exposure to let it ring.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you have a preference in strings particularly?
You know what? And that was one thing I learned from Tony Franklin. I used to be like, I just kind of, a string was a string to me. I never had the aha moment until Tony had sent me the bass, and he had it strung with DR Sunbeams. Okay, the Sunbeams, it just had a real buttery feel to it, That's the only way I could kind of explain it. Even though they were new strings, it sounded greasy,
Nice.
And I just instantly, I loved it, and that's what I've been playing ever since, and that was truly the first time to me. Otherwise, it's like, it's time for new strings, put new strings on. But it was like never, it's like, okay, it sounds like a new string. It was never like, oh, I get it. Whereas that particular brand, and I used a couple of their others, but it's the Sunbeams. There's something about the DR Sunbeams that just, speak to me.
There you go. Well, and as we look forward, I know, again, when the album drops, Sonic Mojo drops November 10th.
Yes.
What other plans are there in the future for you and Foghat?
Just to play. That's one thing. Roger, as long as Roger's ready to go, we're all ready to go. And as far as Roger, a couple of years ago, at the end of the year, we're like saying, well, Rog, it was a great year. We've been real busy. And it's like, well, what do you think? He goes, I was having to talk with my hands the other day. I said, boys, how much longer you want to do this? So they told me we're good for at least another 20 years.
There you go.
So that's it. Here's to it. I know Roger does everything to keep himself healthy and fit to do exactly what he was born to do. And if there's one consistent force in the Foghat machine, it's Roger Earl.
Nice.
Back when there was times where others would, shy away and not want to play, Roger always did. He still runs circles around us, and we're the younger guys.
Wow. And so I guess if people want to know where you're going to be, what you're up to, best place to look online, foghat.com?
Yep, foghat.com. We keep that stuff updated every time there's something new. It's like instantly posted. But we do. Like I said, when I was doing fly dates, it kind of gives us chances to bounce around. Like this weekend, I'm going to fly out tomorrow. Oh, God. Yeah, fly out tomorrow. I'm flying out to Boston, which tomorrow is considered a travel day.
Okay.
We're going to play Thursday night in Boston, and then we're playing Friday night in Las Vegas. So with fly dates, you can bounce all over the country. But, with us doing fly dates like that, we still do about 60 plus shows a year. Wow. And at this stage of the game, man, that's a pretty good amount.
I hear you.
So,
well, very cool. And I know, of course, in addition to the website, social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that, looking at Foghat or at Foghat Official, I believe, on Instagram. Also see what you're up to there.
That's it. We're just doing what we can while we can. It's like we're going to roll till we're old and rock till we drop. Road fever, baby.
There you go. Well, Rodney, we appreciate you taking time from your busy schedule to chat with us. Folks, you've seen him here on Bass Musician Magazine, Rodney O'Quinn.
Hey, thank you very much.